Roy Moore, of course, decided that he was going to stick his 2 cents in and try to rewrite his authority to supersede the Supreme Court, which didn't work the first time and it didn't work the second time either. But, you know, like I said, we had such a success here that, you know, and when we had gotten through, we had our success, the first thing I did after they announced on the 5 o'clock news was I told Keith, this is all right. We ready to go to Montgomery? And they're like, no, girl. Montgomery County is off. They're issuing marriages licenses. We're not going to go protest at people who are trying to hurt us. And I'm like, but honey, the head of the snake is up in Montgomery. And that's the Chief Justice's seat. That's the one we're going to have to end up getting. And so the day that it was announced in the news that he had made his his judicial order that wasn't a judicial order, I hit on Facebook, and I was just bitter. I'm not gonna lie, because I had tried to get folks from Dothan, not once but twice actually. There was another rally for sanctity of marriage, and everybody came out and protested against that at the Civic Center. And when they moved it from the Civic Center to Ridgecrest Baptist Church, then they moved the protest to Ridgecrest Baptist Church. There were a lot of kids on our side.
Yeah.
And that kind of hurt me, because when I drove by that protest, I wanted to see grown folks standing up for themselves. I understand that they were fighting for the future of their own children. I totally do, and I accept that. But that's something that as grown-ups we're supposed to do.
Right.
At a celebration of any kind, children should always be welcome. But at a protest, that's grown folks' business. And I did have a conversation with, not with Keith that day. It was, I did have a short conversation with Keith, but I had another one with
Albert?
No, Christopher. Tried to run for governor.
Graphic designer?
Tried to run for governor.
Oh, Countryman.
Yes, Chris Countryman. And he and I had a much longer conversation, but I just went up to Keith, and I know I hurt some feelings, and I'm sorry about that to this day, but we looked like the Westboro Baptist Church. And that wasn't how I felt that we needed to go forward. And so I pulled Chris Countryman off the side and I said, we're not going to make any change here. We need to be doing this in Montgomery. And again, I was told, now is not the time. So the day the judicial order hits, I'm bitter. And this is fully documented on YouTube. You can see it, the Roy Moore protest. I admitted it then, I admit it now. I put out a Facebook post and said, well, I guess gays and lesbians in Alabama just like being rolled all over and just, having shit scraped on like a rug. It's too bad nobody's wanted to do anything about this. Do y'all still think I'm crazy? Are y'all ready to go to Montgomery? And Keith Engler pops right back and said, gal, I'm getting my shoes on. And it took, in 7 days, we organized that protest. Keith and I, as we were organizing the protest, actually, that's when the process, the judicial complaints popped up. The topic of judicial complaints popped up. And I said, oh, can we? And I said, well, don't you need a lawyer to do that? And the comment came back, no, any individual can file a judicial complaint. We just need someone to notarize it. I said, well, I think we know a few individuals. And God bless him, Tom Willett came back and said, I'm a notary republic. So we, Keith and I sat down that night, we met over at his house, and we looked at what was required to fill out the forms. And what was required was that for each form, you had to have supporting documentation, you had to have a complaint of occurrence, and an impact statement of how you were personally impacted. And we're looking at this, and so we're like, okay, well, we can probably do that. And then we're like, okay, supporting documentation. So we stopped and we looked at the other judicial complaints that were registered by HRC and SPLC, and they had like 8 charges and like 27 pages of supporting documentation, and we're like, we can't reproduce this for individuals. And so, and Keith and I looked back and forth a couple times and said, wait a minute. I said, now, open up the judicial code. There's something in here, somewhere in here is the linchpin. Somewhere in here is the foundation argument for all this other stuff. Because to the layman, no offense to her, I know your daddy's a lawyer, but it
She's a lawyer. She's an attorney.
Girl, it looked like they were throwing spaghetti at a wall to see what was.
Yeah, no, I
Okay,
understand
and-
that as well.
You know, and so, I mean, you know, and so we're like, okay, what's the core argument? What's the core argument that we can push that is going to automatically validate both of these judicial complaints? Judicial Canon 2A, undermining public confidence in the judiciary, and the due process of law.
Yeah.
Most especially the due process of law, because when you said that the Supreme Court holds no authority over anyone's state, and that was the crucial thing that everybody skipped over in all of the media. We weren't just fighting for us, we were fighting for the sovereignty of the Supreme Court of the United States, because if Roy Moore had succeeded, then the Supreme Court would not have had any authority over any of the 50 states. And that is the one thing that I do regret that everybody overlooks. When I write my book, that will be in a chapter and verse. But, you know,